name is Leslie Bell Stanton. My credentials include a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, a Master's in Education, a Master's in History, an Educational Specialist degree in School Psychology, and I'm currently enrolled in the PhD History program at Liberty University. Um, I've always been interested in British history and culture. I've always been interested in deathways or mortuary rituals and customs. And I've always been interested in material culture or how culture is expressed through objects or materials. So this was a great topic to write on. Historians at their core seek to utilize historical evidence, especially those primary sources, to develop arguments and provide interpretations of the past. Specifically regarding the Anglo Saxon people, there's limited written evidence that would be able to assist with accurate and timely interpretations. So objects tend to be the primary sources. Grave goods, which are those portable objects that are found and excavated for mortuary receptacles as well as the earth, provide a really great method of interpreting the past. And the key research question for this paper was, how do grave goods help to accurately create or contribute to the Anglo-Saxon narrative? So in looking to the historical evidence from the Anglo-Saxon period, primary sources, as I said, are more object-based. For example, to understand the Anglo-Saxon deathways and mortuary practices, grave goods would be those portable objects that are witnesses to specific places, times, and events that would be available for interpretation. And it falls to the historians, the archaeologists, and others to examine this evidence and provide the best possible interpretation. Following the historiography of using grave goods to interpret the past, there's a pattern change in the interpretations over time, and that's based on things such as the outlook of the period. For example, feminist theory would focus on the subjugation of women and their limited grave goods, such as brooches, whorls, and toiletry items. Political theories might focus on the social status and the power dynamics of the tribes and local kinsmen. But all of the primary sources utilized in this paper are actual grave goods, and they exist. And they're located in different graves, chamber burials, ship burials, barrow burials, and cremation urns. For example, I specifically used the Sutton Hoo collection at the British Museum, the Prittlewell Princely Burial Collection at Southend-on-Sea, the Anglo-Saxon Archaeology Collection at the Ashmolean, the Anglo-Saxon Collection at the National Museum of Liverpool, and the Archaeology Data Service. By using this material culture as a foundation, the secondary sources would then focus on the historiography, the interpretations, the classifications, the overview of Anglo-Saxon life and their mortuary practices, all of which to create that Anglo-Saxon narrative. Now, what did I discover in my research? First, that no one really knows what roles grave goods actually played in mortuary rites, or funerary tradition, or acts of remembrance, or displays of grief. In short, even though this loose group of tribes of people were collectively referred to as Anglo-Saxon, doesn't mean they always functioned or lived their lives in the same manner. Second, there is no one rite or ritual, no one set of grave goods, and no one way of placing selected objects with or near the body. In addition, the manner of mortuary rituals, cremations, or inhumations also varied. Third, many different people have supplied an interpretation for the role of grave goods, but there's still no standard, uniformly accepted theory. From treasure to gifts to memory and forgetting to commemoration to status to gender, there really is no way of knowing who put what goods with the deceased and for what purpose. So, from my research, I would argue that the interpretation should rely on the psychological state of the mourner. This is an additional lens with which to look through in grave good interpretation, because the dead did not inter themselves, nor did they choose their clothing, their textile, their outfit, their accoutrements, like the fasteners, the belts, the knives, the brooches, any other jewelry, hair ornaments. They didn't choose the food items or other objects that accompany them in their mortuary receptacle. These preparations were planned and carried out by their families or kin, tribesmen, and or other related parties who, for whatever reason and for whatever purpose, made these selections and chose their placement. Personal reasons could enter into it, such as fear for the dead on their journey, their own social, family, or political status, an appeasement to the gods or to the dead to speak well of them upon their death, or even mementos from those who just want to leave a piece of themselves to rest or accompany their loved one. There are many human reasons that can play into grave good interpretation, and I would argue that the psychological role of the mourners, of their own personal reason, is an area that really speaks loudly to future researchers interpreting the past as well as the present. Thank you.